What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG TCG video. Today, guys, we are going to be going over the new Vampire support that is set to release in Battle of Chaos. I am very excited, as always, to be going over these new cards with you guys. So, without further ado, let's not waste any more time, and let's jump right into it. So as per usual with these card game videos, I'll go over the monsters first, then the extra deck monsters, and then I'll end it off with the spells and traps. And the first card that we're going to be going over in this video is going to be Vampire Ghost Ogre, a level 3 dark zombie effect monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense. Its effect is you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. The first effect is if this card is normal summon, you can send one other vampire card from your hand or face of field to the graveyard, so it doesn't specifically have to be a monster, which is pretty nice. You can add one level 4 or higher vampire monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send one level 2 or lower vampire monster from your deck to the graveyard. Okay, so not only do you get to search for a vampire to add to your hand as long as it's level 4 or higher, which there are a lot of vampire cards that are level 4 or higher, and then you also get to put one of your level 2 or lower vampire monsters in your graveyard, which is good because there are vampire monsters with graveyard effects, so that can essentially help your plays there as well. And then its second effect is during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and pay 500 light points. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one vampire monster. Okay, so that's actually pretty good as well. So if you normal summon one of your vampire monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard and pay 500 light points, which paying 500 light points is essentially nothing. You can get an additional normal summon for one of your vampire monsters. So that's actually a pretty nice effect. So not only does it have a built-in search effect for your vampire monsters, and also has a foolish burial effect essentially to be able to get one of your vampires into the graveyard, but also it can grant you an additional normal summon. Honestly, in my opinion, that is not that bad of a card. I actually think that's a pretty nice card for the vampire archetype, and I think this deck will really love to have a card like this in their deck. Like, yeah, they did have searchers in their deck already. I know there is a vampire card that can search for vampire monsters, but this is just another additional one that you can add to your deck, and I think there is a lot of benefits to it as well. Setting up your graveyard, getting vampires into your hand, and being able to conduct another normal summon. This is honestly a pretty good card for the vampire deck in my opinion. But that's going to be it for the effect monsters, and now we're going to jump into the extra deck monsters, and we'll start off with the new Vampire Xyz monster, and that card is the Undead Vampire, a rank 8 dark zombie Xyz effect monster with 3000 attack and 2800 defense. Its materials are 2 or more level 8 monsters, and its effect is if you use a monster or monsters with a level that is owned by your opponent for the Xyz summon of this card, treat it as level 8. So it has the exact same effect as the rank 6 vampire. The only difference is that this monster makes those monsters level 8s, while the other one made them level 6, which makes sense. You're trying to go to an Xyz summon for this monster, you need to have the right levels. So it essentially gives you another way to go into those Xyz plays without having to have the right leveled monsters on your field, which is nice. You do have to rely on your opponent in order to activate this additional effect, but if your opponent does have it, it can be nice as another way to be able to go in these Xyz plays, and it doesn't lock you into having to do it that way. You can still just do it the normal way by getting 2 level 8 monsters onto your field. So I like the option that you're able to do something like that, but now we can actually get into the actual effect that was just an additional way you can summon the monster. You can only use the second effect of this card's name each once per turn. The first effect is neither player can target this card with the effects of monsters special summon from anywhere other than the graveyard. Okay, so it gives protection, which is pretty nice, except for the graveyard. If your opponent is able to get something back from the graveyard, then you're going to be in pretty big trouble, but more than likely, most of the time, your opponent is probably not going to have a monster that came back from the graveyard. So with that in mind, it's giving protection. It's always nice for a monster to have protection, especially since you need level 8 monsters in order to go into this, so the fact that this has protection is very nice. And its second effect is you can detach one material from this card, send the top 4 cards of each player's deck to the graveyard, then if a monster was sent to the graveyards with this effect, you can special summon one of them to your field. Okay, so if you're able to mill a monster off of this effect, you can essentially get another monster to your field to essentially go into more of your plays and extend your board a little bit. And it potentially also puts you more vampire cards in the graveyard as well if you're able to mill it with this effect. So you can also have the synergy from your graveyard to do graveyard effects as well. So, honestly, this is not that bad of an Xyz monster, in my opinion. I mean, it's generic, so you can play it in any other deck besides a vampire deck, which is very nice. It has protection, and it allows you to be able to extend if you want to. So, that's actually pretty nice. I honestly don't think this is that bad of a card at all. I actually think this is a pretty nice card to have, in my opinion. But that's going to be it for the new Xyz monster. Now we're going to go into the new Vampire Link monster. And that card is Vampire Fascinator, a Link 3 Dark Zombie Link effect monster with 2400 attack, with a Link rating of the top Link, the bottom left Link, and the bottom right Link. Its materials are 2 or more monsters, including a zombie monster. So more than likely, if you're going to be playing this card, it's more than likely going to be in a zombie deck. I don't see you just taking in a zombie in order to be using this card. More than likely, you're going to be playing this in a full zombie deck, which vampires are that. All of the monsters are zombie monsters, so it fits the deck pretty well. And its effect is you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. The first effect is if this card is link summoned, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard. You cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters. Also, special summon that targeted monster to your field in defense position. Okay, that's actually a really nice effect. So you can steal essentially one of your opponent's monsters in their graveyard to use for your benefit, whether that's extending further in your plays, you know, trying to link climb a little bit higher, or if you want to get a synchro monster or an Xyz monster, whatever you're trying to do, you can further extend by being able to steal one of your opponent's monsters in your graveyard. That's actually a pretty nice effect right off the bat. And the second effect is you contribute one vampire monster, then target one monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. So you tribute a vampire monster to essentially get a mind control effect going on. That is actually really nice. So your opponent has a very powerful monster in the field. Okay, I just tribute one of my vampire monsters, and I just take that very powerful monster. So not only do you have that monster you can use until the end phase, but also this monster has a pretty good attack point stat line with it being 2400 attacks. So essentially, you could potentially deal very big damage to your opponent if you pull off an effect like this, and honestly, that's actually pretty nice in my opinion. But with that being said, that's going to be it for the new vampire support, since there are no spells and trap cards that we're going to be going over in this video, since there was no new support in terms of spell and traps for the new vampire support. But general thoughts on the new support for the vampire archetype. Well, I think this new support was needed. I really do think this is going to give a boost to the vampire deck. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. Do I think it's going to make this deck meta? No, I do not think this new support is going to make vampire just meta. The deck honestly is really not that good, and although I think the new cards will help benefit it, I just don't even see those cards being played because the Link monster is a little bit too restrictive with the cards that we do have. Can't really think of any zombie deck that's in the meta game right now that can really benefit off this card. Don't get me wrong, any zombie deck would probably play the new Link monster because it's pretty good. I mean, you're able to steal one of your opponent's monsters from the graveyard and you can further extend your plays from there. And again, if you're playing a vampire deck, you can essentially have a Link monster that has a mind control built-in effect. So that's pretty nice for the deck, but I just don't think that's enough to really be able to ward this card being a meta deck. Don't get me wrong, the Xyz monster is not that bad at all either. I mean, it could help with getting your vampire monsters to the graveyard and do plays from there, and also can give back a vampire monster to your field to extend from there. But other than that, I don't really see much else from the card other than it being 3,000 attack points, which is pretty nice to have. And then you have another searcher for the deck, which is also pretty nice, and it can set up your graveyard as well, so you can easily go into your plays as well. So it's very beneficial, and I think this is support that I can see making the vampire deck better, especially for casual play. But compared to the stuff that we have in the meta, I just don't think this support is enough to essentially make vampires a, meta deck. I feel like they need an extremely broken card in order to do that. But I think the support is very nice, and I think the vampire players are going to really appreciate this new support, in my opinion, of course. But with that being said, that's going to be it for this OCG TCG video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the new vampire support. Do you think the support is good? Do you think the support is okay? Or do you not really like the support at all? Do you not think it's that good at all? And let me know in the comments, what is your guys' favorite card out of the three? My personal favorite from just the design wise is definitely the Xyz monster. The Xyz monster looks so freaking sick, and I kind of want to get my hands on this monster. It looks so incredible, but I definitely do like the Link monster as well, and the Effect monster. They're also pretty nice as well, with probably the Link monster being second in my opinion. I really do love the design of these monsters, but definitely have to give it to the Xyz monster. But with that being said, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.